Think Realty Nation, it's your host, Abhi Golhar. Welcome to the Think Realty Podcast. I'm really excited to be here. We have a lot of important topics to talk about today, one of which is asset protection with my good friend, Garrett Sutton with Corporate Direct. So that's going to be a really fun interview. You may know him. He's part of the Rich Dad advisory team, and he travels the world with Robert Kiyosaki and speaks on stages about asset protection. So excited to have that conversation with him and exactly what you need to do as a real estate investor to, well, protect your assets. We'll also talk about the market in Jacksonville, Florida. Jacksonville, Florida, one of my favorite cities, always a fun town to hang out in. Followed by the best and worst college towns to invest in real estate. And then last but not least, why are real estate investors flocking to tech hubs in the event of a market downturn to invest in real estate? That's what's coming up on the Think Realty Podcast today. Here's our sponsor. This podcast is brought to you by Roofstock. If you're ready to buy your next investment property, then check out Roofstock, the #1 marketplace for buying and selling single-family rental homes. Featuring tenant-occupied rental properties for sale in over 20 states, Roofstock makes it easy to invest in cash-flowing real estate outside your local market. And to help you invest remotely with confidence, all properties are backed by Roofstock's industry-leading 30-day money-back guarantee. Sign up for free today to find your next cash-flowing rental property at roofstock.com/thinkrealty. All right, let's get to Jacksonville, Florida, shall we? 1.5 million people live in Jacksonville, Florida. Median household income about $47,000. Unemployment rate 3.4%. Median home price $141,000. Median monthly rent $1,150. What's interesting about Jacksonville is that over the last 10 years, from what I'm looking at, the metro area has grown by about a 20% clip, which is great. It's grown by 20%. Excuse me. I don't know why I'm stumbling over that. And it's been growing steadily at a rate of about 2% every single year. There's a reason for that, though. It's home to about a couple of Fortune 500 companies, which always helps in the innovation space. Thank you very much for that. The region, Jacksonville, also has a world-class healthcare system, just like Atlanta. So I think we're kind of competing with Jacksonville a little bit. We have 13 of the Forbes Global 500 companies also have operations in Jacksonville, so the growth there makes sense. Also, I didn't know this, but not like a commonly known fact, and I don't know if you know this as well about Jacksonville, Florida, is that yes, there are hurricanes in Florida, but Jacksonville has only been hit once in the last 145 years by hurricanes, right? I had no idea. This is kind of cool. Not cool that, you're getting hit by hurricanes, but kind of cool that you've only been hit once by a hurricane in the last 145 years. So what's the opportunity in Jacksonville? Let me tell you, you got strong economic stability. You have a great cash flowing city, awesome for some serious long-term rentals, buy and holds, and also short-term rentals if you want to play that game. So Jacksonville, Florida, here I come. And of course, to get a tan. All right, so I'm really excited about this next conversation. My good friend Garrett Sutton with CorporateDirect.com is with us, and I cannot wait to have the asset protection conversation with someone that understands asset protection so well. So without any further ado, Garrett, welcome to the show. How are you doing, sir?
Good to be with you today.
Good to see you. So give us a little background on who you are, what you do. I know you very well. I've read your books so many times to the point where, it's just like they're now like so old. I mean, they're just like falling apart. I just keep reading them over and over and over because the information is so relevant. But for those of us that don't know who you are, give us a little intro, background of who you are and what you do.
Well, I am an attorney here in Reno, Nevada. I practice asset protection law. We assist people in structuring corporations and LLCs in all 50 states. And about 20 years ago, I became associated with Robert Kiyosaki and the Rich Dad Group. And it's been a great relationship to travel with Robert around the world to talk about financial education and to write these books that you mentioned, Abhi. The one I want to hold up is called Loopholes of Real Estate. And so it's just been really a wonderful time to be able to spread the word about asset protection, assist people in their investing goals and allow them to protect themselves in a very affordable and easy manner. So that's what I do, and it's a pleasure to be with you today.
Hey, same here. So let's just start off with the real basics. What does asset protection mean for real estate investors? What should I know about it, just from the fundamentals? 1, 2, 3. Hit me with that.
Well, fundamentally, we live in a very litigious society. People sue each other all the time. Attorneys have a financial incentive to sue people. They get a percentage of what they can collect. And so you have this litigious society that we all live in. We're not going to change how the rules work. So we need to understand that there are rules that allow us to protect ourselves as well. And so when you buy that first piece of rental real estate, you need to know that there are ways that you can use the law to protect yourself through corporations and LLCs. And so we just need to be appreciative of the fact that there are attorneys out there that sue. There are tenants that make up claims. Some claims are legitimate, but you still can protect yourself through insurance and asset protection. So that's why we write the books and do what we do.
So we hear about some of the famous states in which you should create your LLCs. You got Delaware, Nevada, Wyoming. Texas has a series LLC. And there are a lot of folks, a lot of new real estate investors, or even pro real estate investors that don't know anything about asset protection. They'll just willy-nilly create an LLC. They'll forget about an operating agreement, and then they'll just say, well, I own the LLC. Help me understand what a basic structure should look like. And I know that's a very tough question because everybody's situation is different, but is there a state that I should prefer over another state? Is there a structure that I should maybe start with as a foundational structure over, say, something else that I'm hearing on YouTube? Because, I don't know when YouTube became an authority here. It's kind of like WebMD.
But I don't think it did. I don't think it has yet.
So what do you think?
Well, let's start with your first premise, which is, if you form the LLC, am I protected? And the answer is no. You've got to take a couple extra steps. As you mentioned, Abhi, we've got to have that operating agreement. If you don't have the operating agreement, someone can pierce the veil and go through the LLC and get at you personally. So we need to follow all the corporate formalities. Another problem we see is people will set up the LLC and think they're finished. What you need to do next is transfer title from your individual name into the LLC. So when someone goes to the county recorder's office, they have to see that the LLC is on title to the property. If you forget that important step and title is still in your individual name, someone can sue you individually and reach all of your personal assets. So those are really important steps to take. A complete LLC with the operating agreement, the minutes, the certificates issued, and then transferring title into the name of the LLC. Then you ask about which states are good, and you mentioned the good ones, Delaware, Nevada, and Wyoming. They compete against each other to be the best, which is great. We like competition, and these states generate significant fees on the filing and the annual fees, and so they want to be the best out there. California, on the other hand, doesn't care. They don't care that their law is not protected. So we just have to appreciate the various states. We do have 50 different state corporate laws. And so we like the states that compete to be the best and the most protective, which would be Delaware, Wyoming, and Nevada. I like Wyoming because the filing fee is, the annual fee is only $50 a year, which is very affordable. And they don't list your name on the internet. Which is another privacy technique that people should consider. So among those three states, when we give people a choice, we run through the costs, we run through the various advantages of each, and most people will pick Wyoming.
So I've heard about using land trusts to take title to real estate. What, in your opinion, is the best way to take title to real estate? When I'm buying, say, single-family rentals or a development deal, whatever it may be I'm buying, what's the best way to do that?
Well, there's some bad ways. Holding it in your individual name is bad.
Yeah.
Holding it as tenants in common with other individuals is bad.
Yeah.
Holding it through joint tenancy as individuals is bad. And holding it through the land trust is also bad. There's this misperception out there that land trusts provide asset protection. They don't. And so if someone sues the land trust, the tenant falls at the property, and title to the property is in the name of the land trust, they can go sue the land trust, and the land trust providing no asset protection means that the beneficial owner of the land trust is personally responsible for that claim. And people like to say, well, the land trust provides all this privacy. The tenant will never know who the owner is, but it doesn't matter. In a lawsuit, the attorney is going to sue the owner of the property. If the land trust is the owner and it doesn't list anyone as a contact point, all they have to do is go to the court and say, Your Honor, this property that we want to sue over is owned by a land trust, and there's no person identified here, but we need to be able to sue them. And so what they do is they get a court order saying, you can publish notice in the newspaper that you're suing the land trust. And you know that little 2-point type in the newspaper where they announce that there's a lawsuit?
That's
You're never
right.
going to get notice of that lawsuit.
That's right.
And so, someone who sues pursuant to publishing a notice in the newspaper frequently wins the case.
Wow.
The other side that owned the land trust doesn't appear in court. The judge says, well, you followed the requirements of providing notice, and they didn't answer the complaint. So, Mr. Tenant, you win the case. Well, that's not good. That defeats the whole purpose. So why are you using a land trust for privacy when they can sue you anyway?
I never thought of it like that. That's a really good point. Like, that's a really, really good point. So just be careful when you're using a land trust. And then, of course, get in touch with Garrett Sutton over at corporatedirect.com. Of course, I mean, you need the right resources here. And Garrett, he understands what he's talking about. So let's say I'm buying a piece of property and I want to put the loan in the name of my LLC. How do I do that? Because I know if I change title later, that could trigger a due on sale clause, and that could be a major challenge and a major issue for lenders. How do I do that the right way?
Well, first we have to ask, is it better to ask for permission or forgiveness? So
that's a good point.
What we do with the bank is we just transfer the title. And as long as the bank keeps getting paid on the mortgage, they're not going to call the note. We also need to understand what the due on sale really deals with. The due on sale clause is where you sell the property to someone else. You've sold the property. When you're transferring it from your name to your LLC, you haven't sold the property. It's not a taxable event, right? You're just transferring how title is held. And so in that case, the bank's position hasn't changed, because when you transfer title from your name to the LLC, the bank still has your personal guarantee on the loan.
They've got that.
The bank still has that first deed of trust securing the loan. And so here's the magic term you use. It's called continuity of obligation. Your obligation is continuing to the bank. They have your personal guarantee. They have a first deed of trust against the property. And so the bank's position, again, hasn't changed. And so if it ever becomes an issue, you just use that language, continuity of obligation. But frankly, it never is an issue. We just don't see the banks calling the loans. Now, 15 years ago, banks were a little upset about LLCs, but they've gotten better. And in fact, I would argue that the bank is better protected by having title to the property in the LLC. That protects their position better than you being sued and having someone trying to take the property. So we just don't have a problem with transferring title from individual names to the LLC.
I like that little gold nugget, continuity of obligation. I'm learning something every day. That sounds incredible. Yes, that makes sense. When it
Well,
comes
and
to
that's the FHA's language.
okay.
The federal government uses continuity of obligation as part of the FHA language.
Gotcha. When it comes to the number of properties I should have in an LLC, should I have one per LLC? Should I have three per LLCs? I know there are a lot of funds out there. They'll say, well, I want 50 per LLC. If I have 50 properties in one LLC, isn't that, I mean, I might as well just like shoot myself in the foot with all the liability that comes with that, right? If I have one tenant that sues the LLC, they have access to all the other 49 properties that I have. I mean, how should I be looking at this?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. Exactly.
Okay.
That is exactly why you wouldn't put 50 properties into one LLC. A tenant sues over one property, they can get the equity in the other 49 because that's what the LLC holds. So at the other end, the best asset protection is one property per LLC. Some of my clients may do 2 properties or 3 properties per LLC. But as you get above that number, I really recommend that people consider having, segregating assets into separate LLCs. Now, a state like California, where it's $800 per year per entity, it's really expensive.
That's really expensive. Yeah.
Yeah. So some clients would would put a couple into one LLC, but I wouldn't put 10 into one LLC.
So let's say I live in California. Can't I go to like Alaska and use like an Alaska LLC? And aren't those like $15 a year to renew?
Well, here's the problem with California.
Okay.
One of many. The problem in California is if you have a property in California, you can use an Alaska or Wyoming LLC, certainly, to be on title, but you're collecting rents in California. So you have to qualify the out-of-state LLC to do business in the state of California. And so you're back to that $800 a year. If you do business in the state of California, they're very aggressive about collecting their fees.
I believe it. I can understand that about California. So we've got to wrap up, and I had a whole list of questions for you, which unfortunately we don't have the time to get to today, but we'll have to have you back, and I'll ask you those tough questions later. But I understand that for me, I will sometimes feel, if I'm a new investor, that it's too late to get the right type of asset protection. Do me a favor, in about 20 seconds or less, is that true? If it is true, if it's not true, why?
It's not true. It's never too late to put your property into an asset protected LLC.
Okay.
For the period of time when you were renting the property and it was in your individual name, if something bad happened during that time period, you're personally responsible.
Yes.
But from the date that you put title into the LLC, you'll be protected from that point on. So don't wait. This is something to do right away.
Gotcha. Last thing, I was on your site and I saw, or I think maybe it was an email communication back and forth, there's a 15-minute free consultation that you offer. Just anybody? Is it? How do I take advantage of this? Because this sounds incredible.
Well, we offer a free 15-minute consultation with one of our incorporating specialists, and we'll talk through what our services are, what the fees are, and see if we can help you. We set up corporations and LLCs in all 50 states. Importantly, we also maintain them, because once you set up the entity, you've got to keep it current and maintain it. So we will assist people in maintaining their entities as well. But if people want to call 800-600-1760, they can talk to Letitia at the front desk and get a free consultation. We're happy to provide that service.
Awesome. Garrett, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Everybody, go to corporatedirect.com. Make sure that you schedule the 15 minutes with Garrett and team. Having the right tailor-made asset protection strategy for you is important. Not every real estate investor fits into one category. You have a lot going on. Some of you are new, so you have to think of it like insurance. Right? You can't get insurance when you actually need it. You get into a car crash, you can't call a car insurance. You can't call Geico after the fact and say, hey, I just got into a car wreck. I need insurance now. So get in touch with Garrett and his team. Go to corporatedirect.com. And then you can also call 800-600-1760. Make sure that you get in touch with Letitia there as well. Garrett, thanks so much for sharing some of your insights about asset protection and some of the things that we need to do to invest smarter. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Awesome. Think Realty Nation, we'll be right back. This segment is brought to you by Narada Real Estate Investments. Check them out. Go to www.turnkeyrealestateinvestments.com. Narada Real Estate Investments is your premier source for cash flow investment property. Again, visit www.turnkeyrealestateinvestments.com. All right, let's talk about the best and worst college towns to invest in for real estate. I'm looking at a map, and I'm surprised that Ann Arbor, Michigan is not on this map. So maybe it's probably so good that they had to give the other cities a shot. So coming in at number one, Champaign, Illinois. You're looking at about a 14% yield in Champaign. Number two is Rochester, New York, a 13.5% yield. New Haven, Connecticut, coming in at number three at 12.14% as your yield. McAllen, Texas, and then Providence, Rhode Island, roughly about 11% and 10% returns in those cities. The worst cities, Grand Rapids, Michigan. I cannot believe Grand Rapids, Michigan made the bottom of this list. That's so disappointing. Here I thought Grand Rapids was like on the up and up. Geez, it must be Sparty. All right, Grand Rapids, Michigan, bottom of the list at 8.94% yield. Bloomington, Indiana at number 19 as well. So it looks like it tied with Grand Rapids for the worst at 8.94. Cincinnati, Ohio, 8.95%. El Paso, Texas at 8.97. Let's see, Columbia, South Carolina at number 12, 9.4%. And Baltimore, Maryland, coming at right at number 10 at 10.16. So, I do like investing in college towns, don't get me wrong. You get a lot of student population there, obviously, of different dynamics, different things you have to deal with. So just be careful, do your due diligence, and you should win. Real estate investors are banking on cities with robust tech industries. You know what? I don't blame them. There's so much innovation there. It just makes sense, right? There's a natural profitability, natural upside to some of these cities. Let's explore and find out. There's a new report from real estate company JLL that finds that a correlation between the real estate investment dollars spent in a community and the strength of its innovation economy, that's pretty strong. Just 9 cities accounted for 37% of all annual real estate investments over the past decade. Here are the cities: Boston, London, New York, Paris, San Francisco, Seattle, San Jose, Sydney, and Tokyo. And each of these cities made it into JLL's ranking of the top 20 most innovative cities in the entire world. So what JLL did is they studied 100 cities across the world, and looking at factors like venture capital activity, foreign investment in tech, and spending on research and development and patents awarded to determine these most innovative cities. And it found that tech hubs lead the pack when it comes to real estate investments. For example, real estate investments in Washington, D.C. have grown 260% since the financial crisis. So something to think about. You take a look at categories like innovation and talent concentration. I'll rattle off a couple of the cities here. The top for innovation, San Francisco, obviously. Number 2, Tokyo. Number 3, Singapore. Number 4, Beijing. Number 5, London. So those are the top 5 for the innovation category. The talent concentration category, number 1, London. 2, San Francisco. 3, Washington, D.C. 4, San Jose, and Seattle coming in at number 5. So when you're looking at identifying which cities to go to when there is a little bit of market volatility, where there is a little bit of that market downturn, hey, you know what? You might want to consider tech hubs. This podcast is brought to you by Roofstock. If you're ready to buy your next investment property, then check out Roofstock, the #1 marketplace for buying and selling single-family rental homes. Featuring tenant-occupied rental properties for sale in over 20 states, Roofstock makes it easy to invest in cash-flowing real estate outside your local market. And to help you invest remotely with confidence, all properties are backed by Roofstock's industry-leading 30-day money-back guarantee. Sign up for free today to find your next cash-flowing rental property at roofstock.com/thinkrealty. I hope you learned a lot on the show today. I did, absolutely. Get in touch with us. Go to thinkrealty.com/podcast. Ask us a question, and I'd be happy to answer it right here next time on the Think Realty Podcast. Think Realty Nation, you know what to do. Until next time, happy investing.